Nice to meet you all, and glad to be your final presenter for the season, mate. My name's Athan. I am the founder of a new luggage company started here in Melbourne called July, and essentially we just make luggage that you actually want to own. That's our main point of difference. We saw an opportunity in the market to do something prettier, something nicer, something better, and we went for it. It's been a killer year. We started in February. We launched with product in February, and since then have raised over $10 million and only just passed a year in opening, and we sold thousands of cases as well, which is also pretty good too. I think throughout my days, I should have pressed that before I started talking about July. I just remembered I've got the clicker as well. So throughout my days, I've done a few different things. I used to be a strategist at an ad agency, working on some large clients. I then went and started a consultancy. I've started a coffee startup before, which is now Australia's largest online coffee retailer, and I've also dabbled in starting a few co-work offices as well. I've done a few different things in my time, but I always end up being the brand and marketing guy, and a lot of people end up thinking that this sort of, the brand is all fluff and whatnot, and you're sort of you're the creative one. You just do the brand side of things. I see a lot of tangible value in building a brand, in building something that instinctively, intangibly, if you will, people fall in love with. And there's a lot of value. There's a lot of art and secrecy behind what happens behind that. Today is not going to be that day. Today is going to be something a little bit more practical. I've managed to find my way through as the brand guy. I've managed to convince the finance and accounting people to unlock the funds to create better brand experiences scalably, sustainably, and they make you look good. It's the moments people talk about that only ever happen every now and then, but the bigger you grow, the harder it is to replicate those things. So I think I found the secret. So I'm going to talk to you guys about that today. So what do people think about when they talk about brand? Actually, we were just having this conversation. I'm going through a rebrand. We need the logo to look like X. We got to make sure our colors are correct. Are they replicated right? What does the Instagram look like? I know I've got my designer here looking at me going, that's exactly what should be happening. A lot of it is that. There is a part of it when you start off, if you think of brand as a funnel, there's a part of that goes, well, we need to start somewhere. We need to set the agenda. We need to give people a shortcut to understand what it is we're about as a brand. But there are other ways. There are other things as well. There are other moments that make brands. The key one is that a brand is a promise that a company makes to its customers, to its audiences. And if you think of brands as human beings, if you make a promise, you obviously want to keep it, right? So the design element is actually a shortcut to that promise, but that is only one moment of that promise. At conferences, you hear things like, especially at this conference, and I'm sure you've probably heard heaps of it over the last couple of days, that we're in a 24/7 community. We're always on. You need to be delivering. You need to be talking to people. People whose expectations of brands are big. I think nothing sums up what is happening in the brand space or in the company space right now more than this tweet. I thought was hilarious. We always want these conversations. We're always on. People want everything, but at the same time, we're sending you emails from do not replies, which is ridiculous. Because all you end up doing as a human who understands a little bit of what's going on, especially this kind of audience, you're just going to jump on Twitter and demand a response from somebody because the Twitter team is based locally and not in India. There's like little things that you end up knowing, but you shouldn't have to do it if the brand promise is there to serve you, is there to understand you and do things better. Now, when I say most companies, it's a sweeping statement. A lot of companies end up falling into this default pattern. And this is where the startups end up having the biggest opportunities. Right? So startups come in and go, well, we're a team of 3 or 4. We're going to do things better. So what ends up happening is that everyone's involved in customer service. Everyone's involved in product development. All hands on deck. You do whatever you can to make people happy. And this is the advantage that startups end up having. So why do they win? Why do startups win like that? Because they facilitate these human interactions. They They facilitate these human moments, and most of the interactions that you ever have with a company is through customer service, through the customer service channels. It's either through social DM or through emails. You may see the posts and the ads every now and then, but you're not interacting really. You're dealing with the customer service team. They take 95% of the interaction between customer and brand. And yet, most of the time, I mean, why startups succeed is because this is typically what the framework or the org structure ends up looking like from a service perspective. D2C companies, startup companies, they keep the service component very, very close. The founders, the directors, they're very motivated to make people happy, to make customers happy. Why? Intrinsically, they've got this understanding of what that lifetime value is of the customer to make that one person happy, and they will clear the way for it. I know many times where as soon as I get emotionally involved in a customer service inquiry, I bend whatever rule I can in order to make that person happy. Now, I have that luxury because this is kind of our framework. But the larger you grow, the bigger the revenues, the bigger the business. That's kind of what ends up happening to customer service. This is now the main fire hose of connections with your customers, and most people tuck it in the corner. Hell, if they can outsource it, they'll do that too. They will drop all of that. Now, this isn't a chat about customer service. This is about brand. I will bring it back, right? But the idea is that the larger the team gets, the more distance you get from customer service, the more distance you get from your customers, and your customers are your revenue. So your distance is actually from leadership to revenue, and you miss those moments. You really miss the reality of who your audience is and what their motivations are. We're not dealing with customers. We're dealing with human beings who have their own personal motivations, the reasons why they've messaged in. We need to better facilitate those. Here's a really good example of Richard, my co-founder. We had an absolute baller lunch at this rich investor guy's house. And, he was wining and dining us. He had a private chef. It was super, super lovely. And that's not it, by the way. But we had this lunch, and then we had a customer inquiry come through while we were at lunch. He was in Sydney and said to us, I forgot my lock code, which happens quite often, actually. I forgot the code on my lock. Is there any way to hack it through? And there isn't. There's no way to hack through those codes. So we said, we're in Sydney, we'll come down and visit you and unlock the thing. Richard goes in, he's really good at figuring out codes just by, like a mentalist kind of approach. He's really, really good. Within 10 minutes, he cracks the code, and she was ecstatic. She messaged through, thank you so much. He took a picture with her dog, and all was fun and games. And then we went home. The next day, we found out that the lady who we'd helped, her sister was the chef at the lunch that we had gone to, and was just blown away by the fact that, we were with this guy who, obviously, treated us nicely and super wealthy, super this, and then we're coming to her house to play with her dog and unlock her case. And that was the kind of moment, like that's a founder who's in his element, doing his thing, going, I'm gonna try and solve this customer problem. I'll do whatever it takes. Doesn't matter what it costs. Doesn't matter where I am. I'll make sure it happens. It was a really, really lovely story. The catch with that is that, how do you scale that? That was a lovely brand moment. We'll have that person for life. She loves the brand. She loves what we're about. We've promised her seamless travel. But how do you replicate that across thousands of customers? Really difficult. Really, really difficult. But I found a way. This is me finding this learning that powerful customer moments need investment, and investment needs value. So you can't continue to throw money at brand moments and brand moments through customer service moments, through anything. You can't continue to throw money at it and invest in that without there being some value come back. So as the brand marketing guy, I'm like, I need like $100. I'm going to solve this person's problems. She's going to love us. But at a scalable point, one, I won't get, in theory, won't get those funds. Two, probably won't happen. Three, the next person who does it might not feel the same way. It's quite a subjective approach. So finding where that value is will then unlock that investment, and then obviously reach the powerful customer moments, which turn into brand. So I needed an example. I needed to find an example of how to scale this, and I found one. Some of you may know it. I mean, you know the place, obviously. Carlton Ritz is a hotel. You may have heard this story. It's a bit of a famous one, that any of their staff at the Carlton Ritz are allowed up to $2,000 to solve a customer problem without escalating to management. They've got a free reign to spend the $2,000. Now, the $2,000 is not always cash. The $2,000 is like $2,000 in hotel services as well if they want, but they've got up to $2,000 to do it. And that sounds ridiculous, right? Like you're thinking, well, cost of a hotel room, even an expensive one, $1,000, $2,000, you're spending the entire revenue of the customer in one hit. The magic to why that could happen and why they're known globally for some of the best customer service in the world, the magic to why that happened is because they know the value of the customer and the lifetime value of the customer. So today's little lesson that I learned for myself that I'm passing on to you is that in order to get those intangible magic brand moments, you need to set yourself up with two key metrics that are gonna empower the team to realize brand moments. That's essentially what it is. So the lifetime value and the customer acquisition costs. These are two metrics. If you don't know them, get to know them. And if you do know them, I guarantee you're not looking at them enough. Lifetime value of a customer just goes, well, what's this person buying on average and how long before they stop buying from us? And the customer acquisition cost, pretty self-explanatory. What did it cost to get us to this person here? So these are the metrics that help you realize the brand promise. Now, if we budget it per customer, what we do at July anyway, we budget it per customer service member and we empower them to go and solve problems without the need for escalation. You need to send something express, do it. You need to upgrade that person's suitcase, do it. They've got free reign to a certain point to be able to create powerful brand moments. Now, for the rest of us, it ends up looking like a bottom line figure. To them and what they're dealing with emotionally with the customer ends up having a very, very powerful outcome. Something that is definitely intangible from that moment, but if you can value it back to how much will they spend with us over the course of their life and what it cost to initially to get them, it ends up being a magical formula. So as a really basic example, lifetime value of a customer is around $1,300. The customer acquisition costs typically should be, around 50. And so we budget for around 50 to 130 to be able to make customers happy. Really simple. It is just what it covers your CAC, and it's around 10% of LTV. It's a very simple way to be able to scale up powerful brand moments and keep your brand and the integrity of your brand, or it maintains its integrity over the entire spectrum of your marketing and all the way down to the bottom of the customer service and post-purchase example. So here's an example of one that we did. Friday afternoon, Ozpost stuffed up the delivery. Customer reached out and said, I haven't got my case. I leave tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. Is there anything you can do? What we ended up doing was there was a warehouse in Homebush, and we put it in an Uber Black, and sent it over to her. Cost us around $140 for a $295 suitcase, which again, most people, without understanding the lifetime values and cost to acquisition, most people would think was absolutely crazy, but she was ecstatic. She could tell me how much she appreciated it, and I show her wherever I can. She was super. And her friends bought one. It just kept going. That moment, apps just kept going, and it's a great realization point for us that if you can, and for me in particular, if you can unlock the value and you can prove the value comes back through very, very simple metrics, then you'll be able to create these brand moments on scale and empower other people, empower teams to be able to execute for you as well. There's no point sitting up here talking about brands and it needs to have this, and you need to tell promises and narratives. If at the point when they want to communicate with you, you're sending them do not reply emails, or you're replying back to their tweets 24 hours later with an answer that they probably is not going to help them at all. So that has been my realization, that the biggest thing that I've come to realize as an individual, as a marketer, as a founder, and as a human being, is that customers are humans with personal motivations. They have a reason and a desire and a specific need that you need to solve for them. That they're not just customers, they're not just traffic, and they're not just revenue coming through the door. That's it, guys. I always like to end talks with a little bit of a realization. There's 30,000 days in your life. Right now, I'm in the middle of it, and at the end of the day, do what you can, make customers happy, build a brand that you love, and everything will work out. So thanks for listening to me.